So Fresh Podcast. I'm your host, BK, and we've got Jay Steve here with us as well. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking about love and relationships, and also we're going to probably slide into some other conversations. We've got a great guest today. I reached out to her on Instagram. She's got a great following, great material, and we're going to get that information out so you can check her out. But today, who we have joining us today is Anita Stoudmire. She's a licensed counselor, relationships coach. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring her on. How you doing, Anita?
Thank you so much.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
All right. I'm glad you finally decided to join us. I'm excited about this conversation we're going to have. So let's go ahead and bring in Jay Steve. Jay Steve, what's going on?
What's going on, everyone? Welcome, Miss Anita, to the show.
Hey, so what we like to start off with first is first tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go ahead and get started. But let's hear all the things, all the fascinating things about you.
So my name is Anita Stoudmire. I am a licensed professional therapist here in the state of Virginia, and I own a private practice here, and I do see counseling clients. That's kind of my full-time gig. And what I do online is I am a dating and relationship coach. I create content for Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And I am the unofficial auntie of a lot of generation of young people online. I give them some no nonsense, very direct, straight up relationship and dating advice. And so that's been very fun. I've had a podcast myself for many years, and that podcast recently ended earlier this year. But I truly enjoy this season of my life, being able to kind of be online and have this platform and talk to a younger generation of people. So it's been really exciting.
And I think it's much needed. You were going to say something, Jay Steve?
No. I was just listening. I was engaged right quick, just listening to everything that she was talking about and giving all her background. You put me onto her as well, so I'm intrigued. I'm trying to catch up with everything that she has going on, trying to catch up on the live videos that she does and uh, the coaching sessions that she has going on. And I see people engaging in that, and I'm like, okay, so she really has something going on. So I'm just following through, and my mind is still steady going as it's happening right now.
All right. So what we like to do also is we just like to dive into the person that we're actually speaking to and just find out how they got to where where they're at now. So I read your bio, so I understand you went through a situation years ago, but what I want to know is what was that catalyst that made you break out and wake up and say, you know what, this is what I want to do with my life, and this is how I want to be service to others?
Well, people who know my story, they know I went through a divorce, and that was a huge catalyst to me going on a 20-year journey of learning all about dating and relationships.
Right.
So one thing I promised myself is that I would never have another divorce. I was going to learn everything I could learn about how to be in a happy, healthy, long-term relationship and marriage.
Right.
And so I used to be a school teacher by trade. Many years ago, I was a school teacher. And I decided to go back to school. And that's when I became a therapist. And I went on this journey of studying all of the greats, every person I knew who had been in the dating and relationship space for 30, 40 years. And I read every book I could find, and I got certified in different therapies. I became a therapist and started working with couples, and that's what I do now. I primarily work with couples. My coaching practice works with women, but I wanted to know, what was the formula? There is a formula to have a healthy relationship, and I wanted to learn it. And so that's what I've spent the last 20 years doing, is learning how to be in a happy, healthy relationship.
All right. So Anita, what sparked me when I was on social media and what brought me to your attention is this video that you made about accountability. And I don't think I've ever heard a woman actually be honest and admit it. And that was, do women have a hard time apologizing?
Mm-hmm.
So let's play that clip real quick.
So I was talking to a male friend of mine the other day, And he told me that women don't apologize and women can't be held accountable. And I began to really think deeply about this idea. And one of the things that came across my mind is in the last 9 months or so of me being in my private practice, I have myself experienced many women, whether they came as a couple or they came by themselves, they very abruptly discontinued their therapy. And I started to reflect and really think, what was going on here? And I noticed that after I had to confront them about something, I had to bring to their attention something they were doing that wasn't contributing to the health of the relationship, they became very defensive and very, just very harsh, and they stopped coming. And even though the husband would continue to come, he made it very clear that, yeah, she won't apologize. She thinks you're wrong. She thinks you're taking my side. And I began to really reflect like, oh my gosh, is it true that women don't apologize? Is it that women struggle with being held accountable? I'd love your thoughts on this. Me personally, I think it has to do with a person's level of emotional maturity. What do you think?
Why
Yeah.
is it, do you feel that women have a hard time apologizing?
Yeah. So there's lots of reasons why that is. And I have talked at length on many other shows about this. One of the reasons being is that women, let's be honest. We live in a world where men are held to a different standard. They
Yeah.
are held to a standard that
Mm,
says, you need to be able to be a man and stand on your word
mm,
and stand on, you just are held to a different standard than us. Whereas women, in a lot of ways, we have, and I know Mr. Let Go talks about this a lot
Hmm.
about how women are like children.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we have, treated them as such, like with this assumption that, okay, all women are, they're genteel and they're this and they're that. And I'm like, no, they are grown adults and they need to be held to me to the same standard as men, especially when it comes to, okay, I made a mistake and I need to be able to apologize for it,
Right.
or I'm doing something and I need to be able to acknowledge what it is I'm doing. To me, women should be held to the same standard as men, but we have not seen that. But men, historically, their feet are held to the fire. Like they have no choice. They
mm,
move about in the world
mm.
very different. And yeah, they have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
But we don't see that much in women's spaces.
How do you feel like that affects a relationship? So
I mean, it makes it difficult because, again, there should be two adults within that relationship.
yeah.
And both of those adults at times have to check their ego. You have to be willing to check their ego.
Hmm.
If a mistake was made or they overstepped, they have to be held to the same standard. I believe, like I said, men and women should be held to that same standard.
Right.
And that's almost kind of a question I was going to ask as well. You basically answered it. I was going to say, how do you maintain equality in an equal relationship, whether financially or whatever else? I guess you answered part of that, but I guess you could expound upon that further if you would like.
One of the things I want people to remember is that in relationships, there needs to be a level, especially, and I'm going to definitely speak to this. So what men have to understand, if they want to maintain a certain level of sexuality and sensuality in their relationship with their woman, there has to be something called relationship polarity.
Mm.
And that means that there technically is no equality in romantic relationships. There is equality outside of your bedroom, there is equality outside of your home, but in your home, men and women are different. We have inherent value that is equal, but we are designed differently and we're designed to do different things. So it is called equity. There is equity in
Mm,
romantic relationships, not equality. Equality
mm,
equates to sameness, and we are not the
okay.
same.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay. Okay. That
romantic
makes sense.
relationships are equitable, which means the two different things that we bring to the relationship is what makes it fair, right? So
Mm,
if a man goes out and works all day and he takes care of the financial responsibility, and I stay in the home and I work all day and I take care of the household responsibility, we're bringing two different things to the table, but they are both valuable. It's just they're very different.
right. Over the years as an adult, that's what I've encountered is understanding like why are you so different? Why are
Mhm.
you making
Mhm.
this so complicated versus this is so simple? Because me, I'm thinking of it as I just want to live a peaceful, happy life.
Mhm.
I
Remember,
don't.
you're a Sag too, though.
Yeah, yeah.
You're a
So I
Sag.
can be a little irritated
So,
some very quickly.
Yep.
So, so I've struggled with that, and I think once I got married and began to, I guess, evolve with another woman, somebody from the opposite sex, on a permanent basis, because when you're dating, especially if you're not living together, I never lived with anybody. You see each other here and there, but then when you're forced to
mhm,
kind of like, I guess, really evolve with this person and live with this person, you got to figure out how to connect, and make it work or whatnot. And of course,
Right.
as you know, marriage is not perfect, so you're still going to have those differences of opinion, and of course, I'm still kind of like nonchalant versus I don't want to take everything serious. But then, I think as a woman, everything might be kind of like, times 10. So,
And think about it like this. If you were to own an exotic animal, right? I've always wanted a Capuchin monkey.
mm,
That is on my bucket list. I want to own a Capuchin
okay.
monkey.
mm,
All
If
right.
I am going to own a Capuchin monkey, I have to learn everything I need to know about it. I have to learn what it eats. I have to learn what type of habitat it needs to be in. That is how I'm going to get the best out of that Capuchin monkey. So I can't just bring it in my house and set it in my bedroom and throw it any old food and keep the temperature cold or whatever. I have to learn about that animal. And I explain this analogy to men and women. So if a woman is going to maintain a man, she needs to study him.
mm,
She needs to learn him. She needs to understand
Mm,
male nature. And if a man is going to maintain a woman, he needs to study her. He
right.
needs to learn her and learn about female nature.
mhm,
And both people have to be willing to do this. Now, here's what I've seen historically: men tend to study women, women do not study men.
Mm. And what?
Women
mm,
are lost
mm.
when it comes to
Why,
male
why,
nature
why is that? And why
because
is
women
that?
have historically been pedestalized.
Oh,
Like, we have been pedestalized.
Oh.
We have been told that you all are to pursue us, and you all are to chase us, and
mm,
you all are to get
Mhm,
us.
mm.
And the flip that
mm.
we're seeing now is men are saying, like, you need to learn about me. You
Yeah,
need to figure me out.
Right.
You need to kind of, like
Yes.
he said, we need to meet in the middle. Right.
that's a good segue because diving into the aspects of relationships, I know you can probably agree that you see the drastic change of how relationships are going from someone that how we grew up versus to now. It's kind of totally different.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody's kind of like doing their own thing, and this is from me getting information from my single friends, and of course I haven't been married all my life, so I do see from the outside looking in just a drastic change. On our last podcast, we've been talking about 50 years hip hop, whatnot. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
how much influence do you feel that the music industry, female rappers, have on the culture today of like young girls and how that relates to relationships? Hip hop actually controls the narrative of our culture, versus how women talk, how they dress. And I'm not saying all women. I'm just
Mhm,
saying that I find a lot of my friends telling me, females are now they're raising their standards of what they see on social media or entertainment. Like, I want to get flowed out. You know, I want bags. What you going to do for me? So it seems like there's an exchange for a financial trade off for my time. What I'm
But then,
asking,
is that really any of the people we know though? I mean, I'm just saying.
well, yeah, I do.
I know what you're saying about the whole. I know what you're saying about the whole social media aspect of it. But it's just like when I was watching one of her videos just the other day. She was saying, don't get caught up in that social media because it's not like that. When the men are saying there's only 5% of women out there that are actually wifey material or whatnot. So I get where you're going with that, but at the same time, we can't let the whole social media thing take us down because me being single, like you referenced earlier, I have had a couple of grown older women our age, 40 plus, who has said, you know what? I don't mind going out on a date with you. You just pick the location. Tell me where you
Yep.
want to go. And not that I go out and brag about that and say that and tell anyone that, but the fact of it is that it does happen. But still, at the same time, what does happen up here is this real?
yeah, but
Hmm.
what I'm saying is, it seems like from guys that I talk to, that what you're
Hmm.
those little two times that you say is
Hmm.
becoming rarer and rarer. So now
Right. Right.
a lot of people are doing what they see on social media, which is now starting to change the culture. And then now that this is the
Right.
format, of how we should date, how you should pursue me. Meaning that don't pursue me if you're
Hmm.
not coming with plane tickets and
Yeah.
bags and
Right.
purses. And so now
Right.
that's kind of, like I say, it's a small percentage. You're right, but I see that it's slowly, from what guys are telling me that are single, that are still in the dating pool, uh, that's what they're slowly running into, you know. Just, and it almost kind of goes back
Mm.
to that viral TikTok or viral IG video about the Cheesecake Factory. you know,
Right. Right.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah, 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 yeah,
but
yeah.
but I talked to a lot of guys, and they're you know they're dealing with that.
Right. Well, two things. Number one, people have to be willing to get off of social media
Yeah,
and not meet people through
Hmm.
social media. And
Yeah.
number two, they need to be willing to get off of dating apps. So those are the two
mm,
places that we are seeing the behavior that you're speaking of.
I told him that. I always tell him that. I said, man, you need to go to church, man. You need to.
Yep.
I said, because I'm not calling him out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him speak on
Yes,
it.
you
I'm,
are.
I'm gonna let him
Yes,
speak on
you
his
are.
situation. I was like, dude, man, of course I get it. That's where the times have taken us, is dating apps, virtual. Everything's virtual. You got to go to the grocery store. You got to go to
I agree.
church. You got to
I
go to
agree.
hang
But
out.
if if you remember what I told you though, I don't believe in those dating apps. Like I didn't even know there was a Facebook actual dating app that people use until one of my coworkers told me about it. I said, "This is a real thing."
Yeah,
I don't use dating apps, because I told you I'm still old school. I like to accidentally run into this woman who might just change my life one day.
yeah.
I may be
Hmm.
walking out the store and saying, all right, see y'all later. Y'all have a good night. And turn my head and boom, I run into
Hmm.
the love of my life, you know. So I always keep my opportunities open. But it's like you were saying, Miss Anita, how many women, though, are willing to just meet a man straight up anymore these days without trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Demasculinize us, I guess you would say, by if you want to talk to me, you got to give up the money right away. I need you to simp out for me just to talk to me. And see, I think that's one of the bigger problems that a lot of people don't see because that's not just a social media thing. That's happening in real life. I mean, I've gone to some places in the store say, "Hey, how you doing, man? Whatever, blah blah blah." You know what? It would be nice if you got me some breakfast since you headed that way. Oh no, 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 no! I don't know you. Like, how does this just happen? So I'm just saying there are different scenarios and situations because I work in a field where I run into people numerous amounts of times a day. So it's just crazy, and I don't understand why is it getting worse or are we just seeing it look like it's worse?
I think it's again, if you're on social media, if you're on dating apps, That's 90% of what's on there. And so you think that is reality. But if you live offline like I do, it is not.
Mm,
That's not most people. It's not. You have to be willing to live off of, the virtual world. You have to be willing to live in the real world. I come in contact with people in the real world every day, all day. And nobody is
Hmm.
requiring a cash app to go on a date. But again, if you're living in that world, yes, those two places, that's what they're about.
mm-hmm,
And let's mention this attachment style, if you know anything about attachment style. So there are two different dating pools, and you may not be aware of this, but there is the insecurely attached people, and there are the
Hmm.
securely attached people. Those two dating pools do not intersect. These are two different dating pools. Okay. You are either insecurely attached
mm-hmm,
or you are securely attached.
mm,
So, all the insecurely attached people over here, those are all your avoidant people, your anxious people. Those are all your traumatized people, your broken people, your people who are wounded. They're all in this pool. And then you have the securely attached people, the people who may not have had a perfect life, but they went to therapy. They're God fearing. They go to church. They read their Bible or pray. They meditate. They're doing the work. They read relationship books or they're trying to get better.
mm-hmm,
Those are securely attached people. So those people tend to find other people like them.
Hmm.
But if you are insecurely attached, you're on dating apps, you're on social media.
mm,
See, I need attention. I need eyes on me.
mm,
I need to have my bias reinforced. Those
mm.
people are insecurely attached.
Now let me ask you this though: do you feel like, but it's the sign of the times, like so
Oh, for sure.
versus like,
For
all right,
sure.
I have a 15-year-old, so I always remind him and try to get him to get out, but that generation, which is going to be the future, that's what they're
Right.
about. Everything's texting. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen them
Hmm.
actually talk on the cell phone. Versus, back in the
Yep.
day, you had to get a phone, you had to work for it. You had to get a phone number, you had to
Yeah.
give her a
Yeah.
call, you had to talk on the phone. Even when you went
Keep
out
your
to
pen
part,
on deck.
yeah.
Yep.
Even when you went out to parties, you had to actually, we slow dance. There was this intimate
Hmm.
relationship that was
Yep.
not technically sexual, but it was physical, where you actually getting to know this person on a whole different level versus,
Yep. Their vibe. You got to feel their vibe.
yeah, yeah,
You cannot feel a
Hmm.
vibe through these texting emojis or words.
No.
Yeah, totally different.
yeah. So, like I say, I don't see it going anywhere. I think that's
It's
where we're
not.
headed because a lot of people
Yeah.
feel safe on dating apps, because now you can vet people because I guess we're in this time of,
Yeah.
oh man, dudes are crazy, so I
Oh,
guess
well,
that,
they are. I mean, women are too.
well, I think, yeah, true, but I think women more so may do the dating app because it gives them a buffer. I can analyze you, I can conversate with you or converse with you on this level until I'm ready to make myself real, I guess you can say,
Mhm.
you know. But
But see, there's a problem with that too, though. Another thing that's popped up is AI. So now these dating sites that you use,
Mm,
man, maybe 47% of them are actually the legit person that you're talking to. A lot of time these
exactly.
things are bots.
yeah.
They're
Yep.
AIs. And that's why I say you can't trust these dating sites. I don't care what name they put behind it. I don't care if it's christianmingle.com, which is, oh, you can meet the greatest people there. AI is everywhere. It doesn't matter if
Yep.
you're a Christian, Hindi, Muslim. It doesn't matter anything about your religion, your background, your race, species, anything. AI just goes after
Yeah.
what AI wants to go after because it wants to be a part of society. But that's neither here nor there. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a small tangent, and I had a question that I wanted to ask you,
Oh,
man,
hey,
before
real
we got away from
real quick, let
the
me
whole total subject of relationship. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
just let me touch on this real quick. What I was talking about with the new generation coming up, and probably what some people
Mhm.
feel from a therapist standpoint. Do you feel like collectively, not all everybody, but we're entering this social anxiety space?
We know that like you were describing. So I'm 55, and between my siblings, between my cousins, between school, between the kids in my neighborhood, I was forced to socialize.
Mm-hmm.
I was forced to be amongst not only two boys in my house, which was my brothers. I was forced to be with a neighborhood of children in my neighborhood. I was forced to be with kids at school, kids on my soccer team, the track team, swim team, at church. We are not doing that anymore.
Mm.
Children do not go outside.
Mm-mm.
Children do not play with children in their neighborhood. They don't ride bikes. They don't go to church. They're not in Sunday school. Children don't, people barely have friends. And then the family, like I grew up with 36 cousins. That doesn't exist anymore. The
Yeah.
family is fractured. People
Wow.
are
Yeah.
moving away.
Nobody's going to
Like,
grandma's house no more.
nope.
Nope.
People are not socialized.
What?
People are not socialized, and it's beyond sad, but we're going to see in about 20 years what's going to become of us.
But I think there is a reason for that. Is fear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nobody, like when I grew up, we all spent the night over everybody's house every weekend.
Yep. Yep.
Over grandma's house or over a friend's house, we always had spend the nights. But that's going away because now we got to deal with pedophiles. You can people.
Right.
There's a trust factor where people losing trust in. Well, you're not going over there. I don't know them folks. You know.
Yeah.
So even if you do, these stories that come out in the media, of course, we see is controlling the narrative of putting fear in us. So now we're not going to spend the night parties. People not trusting pastors, so they're not doing the church thing. So that
Right.
now we're breaking away from the church and kind of doing our own thing. What else? Like I say, going outside to play. Of course, devices and technology has taken over that. I may have dealt with a little bit of that fear as well because for some reason, my daughter is 8, right? I cannot imagine her going and just riding around the neighborhood on her bike by herself like we did. You know, we were latchkey kids. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was I was
same.
I was
Yep.
gone from the morning and came
To the
back
night.
To
Yep.
to the
the
night.
to the
Till the
night.
street
Yep.
lights came
No
up.
cell
Yeah.
phone,
Yep.
no
Yep.
nothing, no way
Nope.
to get in touch with me. It's just a prayer that
Nope.
I'm gonna come back. Versus
Yep.
now,
Yep.
I
Just
can't.
go. Like
Now I can't
all you do is
even.
tell her where you. All you do is say, tell her what area you going to. Hey,
Yeah,
Mark, I'm gonna be over in BK's neighborhood.
Right.
Like,
Right.
okay.
yeah. But as for my little girl though, I cannot imagine just like, yeah, I'm going to ride my bike. I'll be back. Like, that doesn't sit with me
Nah.
well.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
That doesn't sit with me. Like, how about just play in the
Yeah.
backyard or the front yard, open the blinds so I can watch you, you know?
Yeah. The world is a different place. It is
Yeah.
a different place.
Yeah.
And I agree
It
with
is.
you. We do have to adjust. However, I do think that the world is also very disconnected.
Mm.
Like, why can't we create safe spaces within our schools, within our PTA, within our neighborhood? Why can't we create those safe spaces?
Yeah.
But the world is becoming more and more disconnected. Most people don't know their neighbors. I know all of my neighbors.
Hmm.
I know all of my neighbors. I have the keys to 2 of their houses.
Wow. Yeah, that's old school.
And we're very old school in my neighborhood. Like, we're having Grand Illumination is on Sunday, and it is an event where everyone puts out their lanterns and we light up our street. It's usually the Sunday before Christmas, and we come out and we have hot chocolate, and the kids come out and they play in the street, and the parents are just, we're just all out, and we know each other. We watch each other's pets if we have to go out of town, or we bring in the mail, bring in the paper. My neighborhood still does that.
Hmm.
And people are just disconnected. They're completely disconnected, and that is a problem because we need each other. We need each other. God forbid if someone broke into my home and I needed to, call my neighbor or have my neighbor call the police. A lot of us don't even know our neighbor.
Hmm.
So we're disconnected. And I think it's time that we become connected. And the pandemic did not help. It did not help. We were on the road there, and then the pandemic hit.
Um, my first question earlier was going to be, But what are the percentages of women that are for and or against your thoughts on relationships, and what role each person should play in said relationship?
So right now on my platform, I have 67% men. I have a more male platform now. That was never my intention when I started my platform. I am actually a dating and relationship coach for women, but I do work with couples. And so I try to hold both genders accountable. I really do. I have something to say to the men, I have something to say to the women. And so,
Hmm.
everybody can get it, as I like to say.
I understand that
Yeah.
because I just noticed sometimes in a few of the comments on some of the videos, some women would say this or say that, and oh, you don't know what you're
Mhm.
talking about, or you haven't really
Mhm.
been in a real relationship or anything. Like, oh, did you not realize she was in a marriage and went through a divorce? But like tell BK all the time, hey, people don't read anymore.
Right,
So
right.
9 times out of 10, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So that was my first question. I wanted to know that. Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with the situation, but the Jonathan Majors case.
Mhm.
Um, I was wondering if you were following that. Now my question about that is, um, how do you see that relationship between the two of them? Was it just toxic, or is it one at fault more than the other? If you followed it closely, I mean, I've kind of been on it somewhat, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
So when we're talking about relationships, there are always two people in them. And so they both are contributing to the health or lack of in the relationship. Now, when we're thinking about percentage, there could be one person whose percentage is higher than the other, but they both play a part. So just like when relationships end, both people need to be willing to sit down and say, what part did I play in that relationship ending? It is never, 100% zero. So we both play a part, and we both have to be willing to look at our part in that relationship. One of the things that I often have to remind men is that sometimes a man's part in the ending of the relationship could be passive.
Right.
And so that's why he will think, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, but you didn't do anything. Like, you didn't do
Mm,
anything.
mm,
Your part could be a passive part in the relationship ending.
right.
And so I've had a lot of, men come to me and say, yeah, I don't know why she left, or I don't know this. I really didn't do anything. And then as we dig deeper, we find that his role was very passive. And so, yes, that could also speak to the end of a relationship. So everybody plays their part, and we have to be willing to look at all of it.
All right.
I love
So
that answer.
yeah, and we're not going to keep you all night. So we just got a few more
Hmm.
topics to discuss that I just want to
Yep.
get your perspective on. And I think you may have
Hmm.
touched on it once or twice, but I've actually been seeing a lot of people talk about it. It's a big conversation, and that's that 50
Hmm.
50 50
Hmm.
50. What does that
Mm,
actually
Yep.
mean? So I think if you're contributing and if you're pulling your weight, there's really no such thing as like 50 50 now, unless you're actually going half on everything,
Right.
like
Right.
lecture bills 130. I need your portion.
Right.
So let's talk about that for a little bit.
roommate style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, again, remember, romantic relationships are all about equity.
Mm.
And I want to be clear. I think every couple has to.
We appreciate you checking out this latest episode on the So Fresh Podcast. Visit us on YouTube at the So Fresh Podcast. Follow, like, share, and when you get there, make sure you smash that subscribe button. And also, you can check us out on any social media platform at the So Fresh Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, BK. Peace.